All right, everybody, welcome back to the BJJ101 STOREROOM podcast. This is episode 34, and we have another awesome guest in Brodie Moore. So, Brodie, I always start with like something super kind of generic, but I always try to get people to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about you. You're a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We know each other from training and stuff before. But introduce yourself a little bit and like kind of how you got brought up and your upbringing, and then also where you first got introduced to kind of like martial arts.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, thanks for having me on.
No worries, man. Thanks for coming on.
Well, I was born in Townsville back in the day, and then moved to Brisbane when I was like 6 years old. Pretty much grew up my whole life in Brisbane. Then I joined the army when I was like 17. Did about 6 years in the army. I was posted back to Brisbane. Yeah, that's when I met Eduardo, actually, when I was training on the army base.
We're going to touch up on that.
Yeah. And then moved around a fair bit. Like I've lived in Darwin for a little bit, trained up there, moved back to Brisbane, then moved to the Sunshine Coast, then moved to Hobart, and then now I'm back in Brisbane now. So I've been around a bit, and I first got into jiu-jitsu or martial arts when I was probably like, 14. I probably started watching the UFC.
Yeah.
And then I got obsessed with the UFC. Yeah. And then I was like, man, where did this all start? And I'm looking back at UFC 1. And then I was just like, that's it, Royce Gracie, see this guy submitting like much bigger guys, and like back in those days the tournament style UFCs. So it was like he would fight 2 or 3 guys in one night. You know what I mean? Which I still can't believe they haven't done another one of those like recently. They haven't done one for years, but I suppose it's probably a bit too hardcore nowadays. But I saw this guy and I was just like, man, that's it. And I'm proud of myself that I actually initiated it. No one introduced it to me, and I was just like, told my dad, I was like, I want to try this out, and I found an academy in Toowong, like down the road from me, and started going down. And my dad just would drop me off. He didn't really pay much attention. He was just like, whatever.
It's doing something.
Yeah, man. And actually, funny story, I'll tell this one. The first time he ever came to watch me train jiu-jitsu, he was just watching the training, and I started this roll against this purple belt girl. And I was rolling, and I thought I was doing really well. I passed her guard. Man, she choked me unconscious with a baseball choke. Unconscious, man. And this is the first time my dad's ever come to watch me, man. And he was just like, far out, this stuff works, man. And that was it, man. I was hooked, How
long had you been training at that time?
Man, I was probably like, I don't even think I'd had a stripe on my white belt. It'd probably been like a few months. Not very long. Yeah, but... the baseball
brutal
chain.
Man. She had no remorse.
No mercy.
Trying to take the head off of a 14-year-old kid.
I was probably like 15 or 16. I don't know at that stage, but it was it was good. It was effective. It shows jiu-jitsu works.
Something else that I always kind of ask is like, did you play any other sports or anything like leading up to like starting jiu-jitsu? Did you have because most of the guys we talk to that like end up getting black belts and stuff like that, because you're a black belt now as well, but like there has to be some history of like discipline, because like a lot of the people that start here, like 98% of them end up quitting at some point or stop at a lower belt or whatever. So the people that can put it together for long enough to get a black belt, from most of the interviews we've spoken to, all of them did like some amount of sport like pretty religiously throughout their childhood. Is that something that you did as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like my dad got me into... I remember when we moved to Brisbane when I was like 6. Yeah, we went straight down to rugby union. I played rugby union at West Rugby, Union. Yeah. So Dad was like, and he coached the team as well. So I've always been brought up in like, my dad wanted me
competitive
to be competitive sports. I wasn't the best rugby union player, but it doesn't matter. It just like instilled that like competitive, edge into you, and then you get into the professional side of it and you see what that takes, and the dedication and then I did lots of other sports that took a lot of dedication. Like I went to a private boys' school, so we rowed. Rowing's hard sport. Where'd you go? Brisbane Boys College. Yeah. So like you would know from Tournament Ground, it's the same. with a lot of those sports, like they're very serious about the sporting
100%.
programs,
A lot of money involved. For
yeah,
sure,
exactly.
Serious.
And rowing, you're getting up at 4th. My dad hated it because you get up at he had to be dropped at the sheds before 5 o'clock to then get on the river early, row before school, and but that instills discipline, that then you take on and you just apply it to jiu-jitsu,
Yeah, or anything else, business, whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
Sure. But that's that's something that always comes up. Like I always ask about, oh, what did you do? Oh, I was a gymnast. Oh, what did you do? Oh, I used to do judo. Oh, what did you do? I used to play rugby. Oh, what did you do? I used to play soccer. Everybody that's like to some extent successful in jiu-jitsu and like consistent over time has got a history of being consistent in their childhood. Like I just think it's an important thing. It's a skill.
Yeah.
You have to get good at being disciplined. You have to get good at being consistent. You have to get good at being accountable. All of these things are skills. You're not just born with the ability to do that stuff like anything. So I just think that's super interesting to always note. Put your kids into shit that's hard. Yeah. And they'll probably have a better life as they get older. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think that's a growth mindset thing. I think that like someone with a fixed mindset, they come to jiu-jitsu, and they can't keep the consistency or they can't handle the fact that they're not good straight away. Yeah. If you've got a growth mindset, you like thrive under the pressure and the being bad at something. You go like, oh,
I want to get better.
I want to get better at this. That like instills something. And I think some people just don't have that growth mindset. I think that maybe they never will have it. Yeah. I mean, you maybe can switch to it, but once you realize that if you suck at something, that's a good thing, it's like keep doing that thing that you suck at,
and eventually you won't suck at it as much.
Exactly.
What I mean? That's funny though. Like that's a kind of interesting conversation. It's like, are you born with that? Is that something you can change and develop into, or like do you have a point in time where you feel like that transition happened? Because I feel like it's almost like being conscious about jiu-jitsu even. Like at some point in time that happened for me. I don't know when that was, but it happened where you can actually understand jiu-jitsu to a deeper level where you're not just reacting emotionally to what's happening around you or in the roles or whatever. I can't tell you when that happened, but I think it has to occur for you to get to a deeper level of proficiency. You can't just be an animalistic, reactive individual forever. No, you've got to start to understand how this shit works to actually truly master things and get good at them. So, I don't know, I always ask the same thing, and some people are like, man, if you knew the answer to that, you'd probably be a super rich person because you could get anybody to get good at stuff or like change in their life and stuff. But I just think that's a super interesting conversation. Like, what makes people have that growth mindset? How do people get to that point where they can kind of be conscious enough to adjust in a way that's going to force improvement as opposed to just like unconsciously reacting to what the fuck's going on around them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I suppose like you said, you'd be really rich if you knew the answer. Because I suppose like sports psychologists or performance psychologists around the world would want to know that answer. I think it's probably a combination of both, as in nature and nurture, like you're born with it a little bit and then you can also grow it, but it's probably a combination of the two. I think like probably for myself in terms of like applying myself to something, I personally think I probably do have like an element of ADHD, which is actually an interesting thing because like people with like ADHD is like, people see it as like, oh, you're all over the shop with like your attention, right? But you actually have the ability to hyper focus on things that you're interested in. And because I'm interested in jiu-jitsu, and because I'm interested in...
Oh, you got that shit.
Yeah. And because... exactly. Have a chat. That's very because I'm interested in my work, it's easy to apply myself. I actually like get like really in the zone, But with other things, I'm like... don't care, not interested, no way, it's just like that.
That's funny, man.
It's funny, I used to describe Anton like that. That's why I used to explain to people, man, he had that some form of like,
No, they used to say I was autistic and shit. That's not that.
Jiu-jitsu.
No, man, I went to fucking, Norway with that Gargamel, and he's like, man, you like that, Meow Brothers or that Musa Messi guy, man, you're autistic or something.
See, someone told the same. Yeah, no, I think he's
not
very
autistic, man. What the fuck?
No.
But it's not in a, yeah, it's just the jiu-jitsu way, man. It's kind of different. It's just different. It's not normal, you know?
Yeah. I always thought Anton's ability to remember techniques was just like...
I think Anton has an ability that are extraordinary, which is like you tell him, man, you need to improve at backtake, right? Yeah. So in 10 days, he'll be amazing at backtake.
Yeah,
boy, this is really kind of like impressive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what he does, but in these 10 days, you know what I mean? If he just
I don't know what I do either.
Just goes there and just kind of whatever he does, but it's just the amount of improvement. Like even watching his, like the guys that fight him, like you look at it as last 6 months, last year, and how much improvement performance-wise the other guys had. In terms of versatile games and, you know, improving another position, etc. And you watch Anton, the disparities, you know, is on the spectrum, actually.
Yeah. Well, he's receptive to feedback, which is, you know, I think some people struggle with that as well. You know, a coach giving constructive criticism, but then actually applying that. Do you know what I mean? It's like everyone can just like take it in, but taking action on it's a different story.
Yeah, action is the way you train.
I agree with that, but he also has a personal thing that he always pursuing improvement in different areas, like a constant thing. Like he's trying positions, you know, as he trains. So he's not training just, today I'm just gonna do what I'm good at and then keep it there. You know what I mean? Because that works here anyway. So he's always trying to do positions. I think that's also part of that.
I think, man, like with all this stuff, I did always find it easy to replicate shit though. Like if I watched something online or watch someone else do something, I find it very easy to just replicate it. I don't have to like drill it 1,000 times. I have to drill it 1,000 times to actually get good at it. But like I don't have to do it 1,000 times to remember the steps. Like after I've already seen it once, I can already remember the position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a skill, man. Yeah. It's good, like because I always remember like he wouldn't just remember the broad details. It would be like, oh no, your foot is on the wrong angle and not in the right position. You know, it's like, oh shit, that's
that changes a bit. That's a scary thing about life, man. I think this is like a paradox. It's like the little 1% things make up 100%. Yeah. So when you miss 2 or 3 of them, it doesn't fucking work. Yeah. It doesn't work. Or like, all right, these 10 steps are like, you know, 10% each, right? So you miss 2 steps, it's only 80% complete for the technique. But like, people are not like super detailed with a lot of stuff, man. It goes into a lot of areas of life, man. You gotta be detailed. You gotta be deliberate with shit. You wanna be successful. You gotta be professional about whatever it is. You gotta be deliberate. You have to be purposeful in the way you act. Particularly with jiu-jitsu, man. It's so intricate in certain scenarios, man.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
100%. Brodie, I have a question for you. Like, we met at the army base.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Do you know how long ago?
I think it was probably 2011, I think. So I joined the army when I was 17. It was 2009. Yeah, and then I think I was in it for a couple of years, and then I met you on base.
Shit, 17 in the military, man. God damn, bro.
Yeah, I finished year 12 when I got my letter when I was at schoolies to join the army.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Go to the army.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh shit. And then joined on Australia Day 2009. Yeah.
Nice, man.
It's good.
Did you purposely want to join, or?
Yeah, I knew since I was like...
Did you saw one of these cool advertising that the guys are swimming and then the chopper comes?
No, my dad's best friend was a pilot in the Air Force, and he was telling me about some SAS guys that he was flying around because he was a Caribou pilot, which is a big transport plane. And he was like, man, these guys, you know, amazing. And he said, told me to read this book. And I was like probably 14, and I read this book called The Amazing SAS. And I was just like, man, this is what I want to do, you know. And so that's a natural progression. I joined as an infantryman, and then usually you stay in infantry for a little bit, and then you look to join SAS. But when I was in, I was like, I love jiu-jitsu and I loved my hobbies and stuff, and I was like, man, if you do that, you're like married to your job. You know, it's like that is your life, you know. So man, credit to those guys, that are absolutely amazing, but I just couldn't give up other areas of my life to do that. So I decided that I should get out of the army and do something else. So
it was very interesting at that time, like how things started there, which is for me was something very interesting to think about life, because it started with Mick George.
Yeah, the Padre, combat Padre.
Correct, combat Padre.
I don't know who this is.
Yeah, so he was
chaplain.
Yeah, he was a priest in the army, basically. Yeah.
And I went to his church, and I did like a kind of community job seminar, right? For free, like just for, you know,
like a jiu-jitsu seminar.
A jiu-jitsu seminar, like a self-defense in his church, like completely for free, just community. And being a priest at the army, I didn't know that at the time, but when you think about it, it's one of the few positions where you have access to everyone on the political scheme of things, you know.
Yeah.
And like we started making this relationship, and then he said, look, come here, do one-arm combat course for us, and it just builds up from that. But there was a good lesson for me on like how sometimes you go and you give something, do you know what I mean, and you do try to do your best at things, and then something really small that you're just giving, like because you just feel like doing it, can create something so big. It was an amazing experience, you know.
Yeah.
I think I was the first civilian, you know, you know, to teach there, and they took me to shot some fire, you know what I mean, like, and on a tank and everything. It was amazing.
Let off some rounds at it.
Yeah, I did. That was very, very interesting. Not only that, but also the understand what is behind, you know what I mean, and that training, have to kind of create something for them. That was very interesting for me, for experience-wise, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good times. So you back then, you joined there. I remember that clearly.
Yeah.
Right now. And were you at the Light Horse or 8-9 or?
I was a 6 RAR, so 6th Battalion Royal Australian Regiment. Yeah. So there's like 8 infantry battalions around Australia, and 2 of them, a 6 RAR and 8-9 RAR, are at Enoggera at Gallipoli Barracks, and I was in 6 RAR. So
that lead to jiu-jitsu being actually recognized at the base now, so that was very interesting as well.
Yeah.
There was a funny story. The general came to train, and Major now I can say Major Don Baker came here, and a lot of other guys, and they say, man, this guy is an ex-SAS. He's gonna go hard on you, man. You have to go hard on him to make something happen, you know. And he arrived there with his assistants and everything, you know, and a super nice guy, helped put on the mats, you know. And like at the end, it was good. They told me what's gonna happen, the schedule. At the end, are you gonna train this guy, you know, train the general, and then if you see him, I approve or not. And as I'm gonna train with him, he comes to me in my ear, and that's like, I don't know, 300, 400 people. Look after me, I don't know nothing. I said, don't worry, man, it'll be the easiest train in the world, but like really close, you know, no one can hear. And I just like play, you know what I mean, like. And if I would have go hard, who knows? But after he signed up, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, you were right at the forefront of that, I suppose, that whole innovation, because jiu-jitsu had been around for a long time in special forces. So at 2 Commando in Sydney, and in Western Australia at the SAS, they were doing jiu-jitsu for a long time, but it was always this a bit of red tape around getting it inside the regular army.
Okay.
And that's why it kind of took the leadership of this Padre, Mick George, you know, to then bring in, you know, Eduardo and some experts in jiu-jitsu to then be able to say to the, you know, the commanders, hey, look, this is a really good thing, and this is something that the regular army should be doing as well. You know, it's like they kind of, I think they were a bit afraid to have it in the regular army because they just saw it as, oh, these people are going to get injured training.
They had problems with boxing. That's what they told me, with the injuries with boxing, which they have,
Which to me is completely ridiculous. It's like these people are training to kill people.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, but it's too aggressive. You know what I mean? It's like, so, yeah, finally, you know, like, you know, some smarter heads prevailed, and they got it kind of the ball rolling, and now it's called like the Integrated Combat Club. But we were definitely the start of that whole movement in the army. And now,
so it's nationally now, like involved.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. Yeah, they've set up. Yeah, towns will like every base will have its own kind of martial arts club now. So yeah, it's definitely got a lot better. They've changed the whole military self-defense to like a different unarmed combat program, which one of the guys from ex-soldiers from 2 Commando kind of led that mission to change that whole program. And it's much better now. It's obviously, it's not just incorporating jiu-jitsu, but you're incorporating striking with the equipment involved as well. You know, it's a different story if you're, you know, trying to do jiu-jitsu with a helmet on and body armor and all your weapons and webbing. You know, it's a lot different, so it's way more challenging, obviously. But
what was super interesting at the time as well, and I never forgot, was that the major that was one of his company was training the whole time. He said to me, what he wasn't he was expecting to build resilience, you know what I mean? People, the soldiers get fitter, etc., you know, and learn a skill. But what he was really amazed was how quick jiu-jitsu allows the new troopers to bond. Like what normally would take a year with jiu-jitsu, like every 5 weeks they already have this bond, you know. And that was very interesting for the guy as well.
Yeah, and I think that's that's so true, Eduardo. Like I think that jiu-jitsu and the community in jiu-jitsu, for me, like, is the closest thing to the army that I've had. You know, that brotherhood that you experience in the army, and that camaraderie that you have, the jiu-jitsu community for me is like very not far away from that, because you
look after each other's life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, you could break that guy's arm if you know put a bit more into that arm bar, or destroy their knee. You know what I mean? It's like you need to trust your partner to make you better, but also keep you safe as well. You know, it's like a very
it's a weird shared intimacy that you don't really find in any other kind of situations. I think it's even more extreme though than like striking martial arts, because of how like interpersonal it is, like how physically connected you are to another person, and also how hard you can go. You know what I mean?
Oh, you can go 100%. That's the thing. I've never understood how you could train, you know, a striking sport. It never appealed to me because of exactly that. Like, I can never go 100% unless I'm in a fight. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and how often do they happen? It's like, you can't fight every night. Do you know what I mean? But that's just
fall apart.
Like jiu-jitsu, you come 3 times a day if you're really keen, you know what I mean? And train 100%. Like, you'll be sore at the end of the week, but, you know, you can do it.
Still achievable.
It's achievable.
And if you can, you get an ice box.
Exactly.
Change your house arrangements.
Lots of Nurofen.
Take a Nurofen, anti-inflammatory.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Some people, you know what I mean, they're completely falling apart and they're still training.
We have these
tape it up, go there again.
Is it Bruce or?
Not only him, but
It's actually funny. I have a shooter like 65. And he's like, man, I came 3 days in a row. I said, man, I'll see you next week.
That's it, man. Yeah.
So, Brodie, so you had experience, like, because you move a lot, you know what I mean, like you train here in Brisbane, then you train Tasmania, you train Sunshine, you always, you know, going, visiting gyms, etc. So you had a lot of different experience with jiu-jitsu, I guess, and also states, etc. What do you think that the group, like the leaders, makes a big difference in how the club vibe, you know, and it's actually like how the leaders actually have an example for the vibe of the club, and how this is important, in your opinion, for the improvement, or, you know what I mean, and the well-being and the socialization of the group.
Yeah, definitely. Leadership's everything, you know, in a club. I think that culture is like, it's a difficult thing, you know, as in it takes a long time, I think, to implement a culture and to change a culture of a club, I think. But I think, leaders play a huge part in that. You know, I think I've been to lots of clubs where, you know, you've got different vibes. You know, you've got very serious competition, you know, minded club, and then you've got a more relaxed, just like, let's just let's just train.
Yeah.
You've probably got a balance of that as well. I mean, each have pros and cons.
Sure.
You know, but I think at the end of the day, is as long as you're training, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because I suppose you do get so many different people in the club doing it for different reasons. You know, you got competitors, you got people who just want to do it for, you know, for their mental health. You got people who want to do it for fitness.
Absolutely.
You know, and you got
different
people,
ages.
Exactly. You know, so
I think normally that like people that are seriously competitive is like a small portion of the whole gym, regardless of the gym, though.
yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's not
5%, maybe 10%.
Because I think if you're super competitive, then you'll even change club to a just competitive gym. You know, I think that ends up happening. Guys like kind of, you know.
They gravitate towards
the can lead to that.
Yeah,
can lead to that.
I think that's very common because like they have mutual goals. That happens with everything. Like you know what I mean, people gravitate towards what you know to the things they want. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, for
can
sure.
lead to that for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but I've been lucky training at lots of different gyms. I think in a way, you know, like life has taken me. I'm pretty open to like opportunities and experiences, and I always, probably because of the ADHD, like if I feel myself getting a bit too comfortable in my life, I know I like need to make myself uncomfortable, which is just like I probably learnt from jiu-jitsu. You know, it's like get uncomfortable. You know, if you're you know, they say if you're the best person in the room, then maybe it's time to change rooms. You know, or bring some other people in. You know, it's like, but. I've been lucky because you see the good, the bad, you know, of a gym, and the bad, you know, the good habits, the the good cultures, the bad cultures, you know, and everything in between. So
but I think that there is a culture that each club has a vision of the culture, etc. And some people like are willing to tell people that might not have nothing to do with the way we want to do things, say, look, I don't think it's better for you to train here, to keep that culture. You know, the culture is vital for the whole group, you know? And others that just go, oh, yeah, no, it's okay, everything's fine. And then when you see it, it's not okay because it's too many different, you know, thoughts and too many different actions, you know what I mean? So
I think that's important in leadership, like you're talking about. Like for you to cultivate whatever you're trying to cultivate, you have to have boundaries and standards. Otherwise, it's chaos.
That's
chaos
what I want to say.
Generally doesn't lead to anything positive. You know what I mean? I think like aside from the culture thing, I think for the most part, the main instructor at gyms heavily dictates what the gym's like. Whether it's technically, like because I'm very analytical, I like to look at that type of stuff. If I will go to a gym in this part of Australia and I know the game of the guy that teaches the classes, the head instructor, that heavily impacts the techniques and the style of jiu-jitsu that the people have in the gym. And when you roll with them, it's reflecting of that.
For sure.
If you go to this gym where the guy's really good in X guard or half guard, all the students are really good at that. If you go to this gym where the guy's really good on the top, heavy pressure passing, he's really good in the side control, all the students are good at that. You know what I mean? I think you 100% a product of your environment. You know, people always say like you're the sum of the 5 closest people around you and all that stuff. Are there exceptions to that? Yes, but for the most part, whatever your environment is what you're going to be like too.
But it's good when the gym gets big enough that it has a lot of different styles in a good standard that can, you know, spread a little bit more. And
I agree, but that's very hard to cultivate, man. Very hard to cultivate.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's true though. Yeah, it's that I've experienced as well. You know, like I was training down at Lachlan's at the start of the year, and you know, all outside leg position. You know, guards. You know, they all play off the back. It's like pretty much every person you can like attacking expect is going to be like a certain way. You know, and then you go to like Adelaide and train at M16. It's like very different. You know, it's more like inside leg position, Craig style. You know, than Lachlan style. So yeah, it is that. And it's funny because if you throw a completely different style into that club, it often catches so many people off guard because they're just not used to it. You know, they're like, "Oh man, no one does that here." You know, thank you. That was awesome. You know, they appreciate visitors when that happens. You know, it's like, I think cross training is important if you know within reason. You know, with the balance. You know, so.
But like I was in Nambour on the weekend for the grading. And Baggy has a very distinctive style, you know what I mean?
He's omoplata,
you know. And then Metal Bar, going there gives a completely different. He's teaching there now as well, so gives a completely different thing that's very important for those students. Otherwise, they're just gonna do that, you know. What I mean? So that kind of influences are very important, you know.
Yeah, and you probably don't understand that until like maybe blue belt, maybe purple belt, that how influenced you are by other people. You know what I mean? Like when you're a white belt, you don't know what you don't know. So like you're like a sponge. You know what I mean? You'll just like you'll pick up Peggy's style and you won't even realize that there is another style. You know what I mean? You think this is it. You know, this guy's like, you know,
he's the one destroying everyone here. So
exactly.
That's the ultimate style. And then you go to a seminar, you go to this, whatever, and you go, holy shit.
Damn.
So much more, Like, you never, there's no perfect style to do jiu-jitsu. There's no perfect way to do anything. That's why, like, the way I try to teach jiu-jitsu when I do, like, classes and stuff like that is not about, like, the intricacies of each position. I think most people really focus a lot on, like, their particular way of doing jiu-jitsu. I try not to focus on that anymore. I used to do the same thing. Like, here's this step-by-step process of how to do this technique. Now, I just try to explain people like the fucking larger picture. All right, there's 4 million ways to do this, but at the end of the day, you need to achieve this and this.
Yeah.
Make sure those two things happen. The rest, up to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get to their back. There's a lot of different ways to get there, but finish with this choke.
I'm done. I'll see you guys later. No, there's key markers for achieving things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I use this analogy all the time. It's like, you can use whatever diet you want. If you want to lose weight, you have to have a caloric deficit. You have to eat less in calories.
Yeah.
Than you need for the day, whatever. Then you use up or whatever. So you're using more calories than you eat. All right, you lose weight. That's the rule. The rest is up to you. If you want to do carnivore, you want to do blah, 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 vegan, doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. Same with jiu-jitsu. You can actually break down those laws and those rules. Like, if you want to knock someone over, you got to achieve this, this, and this. If you want to keep your balance, you got to achieve this, this, and this. So I changed a little bit more to kind of like a conceptual explanation as opposed to step-by-step process of like grip here, knock the guy over. You know what I mean? I think that helps a lot. But it generally takes longer for people to understand deep ideas. And a lot of the time, they're understanding at that point in time might not be deep enough for them to comprehend what you're explaining. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's balance. And I also think it's really challenging because everyone learns differently.
You know that's the biggest thing.
How do you teach a room full of 30 people that, you know, you could split the class into like maybe, you know, 3 or 4 different type
Teaching
of learners,
styles,
you know? It's like, it's difficult.
You have to try and hit all of them.
And I suppose that's the good thing about showing instruction, doing a positional training, rolling, you know, because people are gonna learn in different ways. Some people will like that instruction. Some people, it's gonna go in one ear, out the other, and they're gonna learn from trial and error in rolling. Do you know what I mean? Like, learn the hard way. That's probably the way I learned, you know? It's like,
I think at the end of it though, like, experience is the best teacher for everybody. Like, you have to be able to fail and assess. But like, even in the instruction portion, like, you got to try to hit different, like, again, teaching styles or whatever. Sometimes you got to click and number the movements. Sometimes you got to do it on them or get them to do it on you or whatever. Like, you're trying to do it in so many different ways. Sometimes they need to hear you walk through the position for them. Like, you go, all right, now grip the arm. Now do this. Now do that. Now do that for them, and then that will help them. Some people,
do you know the way? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you know the way that you learn best? I know the way I learn best. Do you know the way you learn best?
I mean, I'd be guessing, but you know, I think like I probably do it once or twice, but then like I don't need to do it that many times, and I just need to like then try it live. Do you know what I mean? So is that what you mean? Like,
no, but he just means like, you know how you have like those 3 main learning styles. It's like visually, audibly, or
kinesthetically,
where you do it physically.
Yeah, I say do it. Don't have to do it.
But I for me, it's someone does on me. Then I feel.
You feel it. Yeah.
You experience it.
And then I like, oh wow, okay. And then I have to ask, obviously, you know, like to tune in. But
how important is that? Like what you just said, like when you, like your ability, like this is hard to explain to people, like when they're new as well. Like how to be a good training partner. Do you know what I mean? It's like, being able to describe to your partner, hey, that wasn't very tight, or you did something different that time. What did you do then? You know, like
or just to ask, to have the humility to also ask, what have you done?
What about the consciousness to ask? How about that? Let's start with that part. How about you have the awareness to go, how am I going?
Yeah, exactly.
Some people don't have that. So like I said before, everything's a skill. Being a training partner is a skill. Learning that technique is a skill. Being an instructor is a skill. So there's so many different layers of learning that you're going to get from doing jiu-jitsu, but one of them that's super important for everybody too is eventually learn how to be a good training partner. Like if you're doing kickboxing, learn how to hold the pads properly.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're fucking useless.
Because I say that to people, like when I instruct as well, like is like you can't be like a rag doll when you're doing a technique.
But you can't resist
so much. It's like finding that happy medium between, you know,
where you have structure but you're not actually like avoiding your opponent's techniques or application of movement.
Yeah, you're not like a limp, you know, like a dead body. That's so hard, you know. It's like, but there's a balance,
to play with,
but that's like hard. It takes a while to learn that, you know, and it's and saying to your partner, hey, like you're like providing that feedback. I think people that are good communicators or comfortable, they like if you're like that as an instructor, sometimes you even forget to explain that to people, to newer people, that hey, you need to communicate to your training partner. You know, if they're going too hard, going too light, if it's not right, the technique, and ask for that feedback between, you know, your partner.
I get annoyed with that stuff. Sometimes I stop the class and say, hey, listen guys, stop being a shit partner. You have to remind people.
Because I think you got to step into other people's shoes as well. It's like, you know, maybe they're just not confident. Maybe they're training with, you know, a black belt or training with someone, they're just like, oh man, I can't.
Sometimes they don't actually know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? They're just confused. They're like, oh, I'm just going to flop on the floor. Wait, whoa, this is unrealistic. Are you going to roll like that? No. Well, then why are you doing it now?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you not creating the structure you would naturally? But yeah, they don't know a lot of the time. Just something else that you mentioned before though about like, I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but like you're talking about like it's kind of about learning and teaching and stuff. When you were talking about individuals that like if you become the best guy in your space, you need to seek out other stuff. You know what I mean? You need to seek out other people. I've always had an issue with that for the most part, because I'm a lot heavier than a lot of the guys here. I do this full time. Not everybody else does this full time. Like it's hard to have in like the highest level training all the time unless you're at a gym where all the other guys are doing the same thing. So it forces you to be like a little more creative. And I actually believe this has happened with most of the Australian dudes. Like they're actually quite they're just quite creative and intuitive. Like they can just create scenarios where they can still get a higher level sparring situation with whatever they've got. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we don't have the long history that you do in Brazil or in the US, whatever, of guys that are of that high skill level that are world champions or that type of thing. So you just have to be a little bit more resourceful with the situation you got. And like I think that there's actually guys that are high level that have done that before. Like for example, they talk about that Verdum when he won like the ADCC, whatever year he won, he just trained with his students the whole time. He never trained.
Roger Grace at the peak of his career was with a blue belt at his gym.
Exactly. And like
in England,
And sometimes you just have to like adjust the style of training to make whatever you can. Like for example, you know, I used to do that a lot where I would get people to start in the best positions possible and then, all right, go. All right, you're going to get really tired now. You're going to stand in the middle for 30 minutes and you're going to do 3 minutes with all these guys so that you're super tired and whatever. So I think if you're creative, you can kind of create a difficult scenario as long as you kind of look for, you know, you're resourceful with how you do that.
Yeah, and I think some people probably struggle with that creativity, you know what I mean? Because that is a thing, you know, it's like breakdown. Like I know personally, like I struggle with creativity in my training, you know. I prefer, probably because I've come from the army as well, it's like just tell me what to do and I'll do it, you know. I mean? It's you know, it's like you give me a gym program, I'll like stick to it 100%. You ask me to walk in the gym and come up with my own, it's like difficult, it's difficult for me, you know, but that's just a weakness of mine, you know. But yeah, I agree, like you can definitely, you know, make make your training environment more challenging by being specific with a specific goal, or trying to make it harder for yourself.
For sure.
But I think there's also another benefit for what you're saying is that I think you have more room to make it more developing into create techniques.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's not such a train that is so tough and inch by inch.
Yeah, there's positive and negative to everything. Like if you do like full on competition sparrings all the time, everyone always brings their best techniques because no one wants to lose, and that's the standard of the gym. Like we're all going 100%.
You don't develop as
so you
much.
continue to refine the techniques you already have, as opposed to adding new shit all the time. The positive to having like much less skilled individuals around you is you can play around with shit and you can work on other areas.
If you have the work ethics to do so.
Yeah, of course. I would say that's kind of how like my development is reflected. Like there are good guys here. There's high level black belts that were competitive in all sorts of belt levels and stuff like that. But at a certain point in time, if you don't keep up that RPMs, you don't do the same level of work, you're just going to get left behind. That's what happens. So what happens with somebody that just consistently adds more and adds more and adds more? Like I'm able to do that in so many different areas because you're so much more sensitive and skilled than the general practitioner here, that you're just playing a game. Like you're playing a game as opposed to like competitive sparring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a time and a place for both, I think,
No, you definitely need the hard sparring. I'm not saying that you don't need that. I'm just saying they're good for different things. Like,
for sure.
I always talk about this with people, like at the end of classes and stuff like that, and they're always like, oh, how do I get better and stuff? Well, are you being purposeful with the training, man? Like, are you being purposeful? Like, how are you training? 90% of the time you're going full clip trying to kill your partner.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really good for learning. It's good for refining the shit you're already good at.
Oh, it comes down to ego though. Like people don't want to try new techniques
because they don't want to lose.
Because they don't want to get tapped. It's like, and it's like, especially when you're a lower belt, you forget how much it means. Like if you just got your blue belt, for example, I can't be trying new techniques against a white belt and getting tapped by them. Like I just earned this belt. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think maybe I am autistic, man. I never thought about that shit ever. I just went there and tried to go fucking. I'll try this. Oh shit! I don't go again.
I reckon people, like a lot of people do.
No, I agree. I think your mind's probably everyone's biggest struggle for the most part. But like, I also think people don't understand, and that's like the second portion is like they don't understand the function for stuff. Like, this is the same thing to do with the teaching that I'm talking about, like where I'm trying to get people to understand about the concepts. Like everything you do has function. The way you feel has function. The way I've been listening to a bunch of like psychological audiobooks about this and that and da 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 and whatever, and like even the way you suppress society and stuff like that affects how people function. You know what I'm saying? Like if you teach people not to be aggressive, it also affects the opposite side. You know what I mean? It affects people's creativity. It affects the way people are kind of resourceful with new ideas and stuff like that. It's not only that you're not being aggressive anymore. There's two sides to each emotion, to each way of thinking, to each way of this. So, like, when you need to understand to be able to apply. Does that make sense? So once you understand better, you have better ability to apply and get what you want. You know what I mean? Yeah. If your goal is to improve technically, you got to train like this. You might not want to, but that's what you got to do. If you want to lose weight, you're going to have to eat like this or eat this way in terms of, a caloric deficit. It might not feel good. You might be hungry, but that's what you have to do. There's function to shit, and there's function to jiu-jitsu. And spend so much time doing jiu-jitsu, I'm starting to realize all of these functions, and you're starting to analyze everything so much that it becomes really clear, and you can systemize everything, and you go, it's completely binary. It's not this crazy spiritual thing about feeling. No, it's completely binary. If I'm here in this position, I'm playing guard, all right, I got 3 things that I can do. I can either sweep the guy and go on the top, I can submit the guy, or I can take his back. All right, but how do I make sure those 3 things happen? What do I need to see as a marker, as an indicator to make sure I can make those 3 things happen? All right, I want to go to the guy's back. How do I make it easy to go to the guy's back? All right, I'm going to post his hands on the mat. why does that help going to the back? Because when the guy's hands are posted on the mat, he can't use them to stop you from maneuvering around his body. It also creates like a structure that you can climb on because he's on all fours. Oh shit, that's the way to go to the back. You got to force someone's hands on the mat consistently, and if you do that, you go to the back. Are there exceptions to that? Of course, there's exceptions to everything. But 80% of the time, 85% of the time, 90% of the time, if you can keep someone's hands on the floor, it's a clear path to the back. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to take the back, the guy keeps taking his hands off the floor. Oh, what does that lead to? Let's try it. You try submission. You go, oh shit, submissions work when the guy's limbs are off the floor. Why? Because you can force the limb into the posture you need to actually cause damage on it. You don't want the guy to lean on the limb you're attacking. Holy shit. What about sweeps? And then, it goes on for whatever.
Yeah.
But like, the deeper you understand anything, the more you can get what you want out of it.
Yeah.
I just don't think people a lot of the time are conscious enough or spend enough time trying to understand anything to get what they want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what jiu-jitsu's taught me.
Yeah. No, I think, well, 100%. I mean, with jiu-jitsu, the journey is so long to just black belt, and then when you achieve black belt, you're like, oh man, this is like scratching the surface, and then you're like, man, this is like, it's such a never ending. Do you know what I mean?
Sure,
but I think that's, partly that is because people have so much going on in their lives as well. They probably, a lot of people do understand that, but they're like juggling, work. It's like you do this full time. That's amazing. That's awesome. And a lot of people probably wish they could. But then I don't know if they actually know what it entails. Do you know what I mean?
No, for sure.
But I think I think jiu-jitsu, obviously, I think if you do it long enough, obviously, I remember if you get to purple belt, there's probably a very good chance that you're never going to stop because you'll reach black belt. Like, I'd love to see those statistics, which, how many people get to blue belt and quit compared to how many people make it to purple belt that actually keep going. I think
the majority, it's very, very common for that to continue. But people, I understand that. Like, I understand life gets in the way of all that stuff, and it's specifically to do with jiu-jitsu. But I'm just talking about that mindset in general, and it might be that growth mindset thing that you're talking about. But to really get good at things, you gotta truly understand it. I believe that people understand better perspectives and deepen the understanding of life in general through physical pursuits because it's tangible, because you can feel that shit. Because if you're too late in catching the ball in footy, you get whacked by somebody else, and that doesn't feel good physically.
Yeah, but that's also what appealed me to jiu-jitsu, because it's like, as opposed to football, it's like where it can be someone else's fault that you lose. You know what I mean? It's like, it's your fault 100%. Do you know what I mean? In jiu-jitsu.
Accountability.
And I love that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you can't blame it on anyone else. You're taking ownership for that loss or that win. That's yours. You earned that. So I do love that about
No, I agree. That's the massive contrast between like solo sports and team stuff.
I think like when you have, like, you visit a gym, and then I think it's very important, like the conceptual things are very important because they are the ones that maybe make you recognize timing. And if you can recognize timing, sometimes by doing this on the guy's gonna fall, is gonna be a sweep, you know what I mean? Like, because you can feel that the weight, so this is very important, and people, it's not super difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't think that's actually not difficult. Maybe time, a little bit more time, a little bit of trying to understand, rather than, because people go straight to, I want to swim. Oh, this looks cool. You know what I mean? But they don't understand that it's like you're going swimming when you're gonna. It's like you have to get wet. You're gonna train jiu-jitsu. You're gonna get submitted. So these things I think are very important. Otherwise, for example, if you I went on a competition in Melbourne. I was watching the guys, that train like a lot of leg locks. They're going on the wrong time. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like you can do this at any second time. It needs the right timing to do it. Otherwise, you're just moving on the wrong time. That doesn't work. Like any position. But I think, for example, you talk at Muhammad Ali, for example. You look at any sport, like the angle is very important. You know what I mean? For takedown, the angle, is your body too low, too high, like little details, One thing that I do nowadays, now you get older, you don't move as fast. When you're standing up, the way the guy on bottle is going to do guard with you, I can know what's the side that he's best at defending, and I go to the other.
Yeah.
It's amazing how this works. And normally, unless the guy is like, they'll be very rare, they'll be good on both sides at the same level. The other side is much weaker.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I've always done it. I remember because Craig talked about it, you know, he'd always pass to the right because most people play guard. You know, they're better at defending, side, you know. Yeah. So it's like you just go to the right-hand side. And I think for the most part, it's because they're right-handed. You know, most people prefer
right-hand dominant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think just in doing that, I don't know when I worked that out, but it was probably, you know.
Exactly. It's not a position, you know, no more. It's just one detail that changes everything.
It's like you can't have the perfect balance, you know, with guard retention for most people. Anyway.
No, not at all.
It's going to be, It's interesting because I think people, it's not that, you know, for example, I hurt my knee recently, you know, and I was doing testing on my bad, I hurt my left knee, which is my non-dominant side, and I was doing testing on my leg to make sure that my meniscus was okay to go back to training. And the guy, I scored, like, did about 7 different exercises and compared them to my right-hand side, and my left-hand side was stronger than my right on all movements. Yeah. But it didn't feel like it was stronger. You know, so you actually have to just have some trust in that weak side. Do you know what I mean? That, like, basically, that you're just not as coordinated. And that's why you don't feel like you're as strong. But you are as strong, or if not stronger on that weak side. And I suppose, like, you can apply that to jiu-jitsu as well. You're going to have trust in your bad side. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's there. You just got to put the reps in, you know, and it'll quickly, you know.
I think there's this thing about, like accountability to go. I think people don't reflect enough, like, on going, you know what, look, my defense of God is really bad to the left. I'm going to let people, you know, come here, you know, and try to improve here. Like, if you don't think about what you have to really improve, what you're good at, what you need to improve on and work on it, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get better in it. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. But that's what getting better is.
But there's a lot of people that does not do that. But that seems very normal.
But that's what I was talking about before. Like, your ability to comprehend what the fuck is going on is directly
the minimum
requirement to fucking improve. So, like, why
to really improve?
Why? Yeah, but in anything, I'm not even talking about jiu-jitsu. That's why I was talking about, like, conceptually understanding, truly understanding what the fuck you're doing. If you don't know that part, how do you get better? How? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be...
You can copy, but you're not truly understanding. Do you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people do that. They go, oh, you watch the coach does this move, you just do that. But it's like, well, why are you doing that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but even with the copying, when it fails, they go, oh, the guy was too good. Oh, my leg's sore. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Just come up with some bullshit reason. No, figure out how to make it fucking work. It's not that, like, this is such a common situation. Someone will pick a technique, they'll do it for 3 weeks, it doesn't work, they watch another technique, and then they go back to that. And it's like, how the fuck is that ever going to lead to anything positive?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. I always found with myself, like, the time that I think I started to progress the most rapidly was when I came to training with intention. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So
100%.
coming with intention.
You've got to be purposeful.
Yeah, so it's being purposeful when you come to training, because obviously you've got to trust that your coach is guiding you on this journey, but no one knows the journey better than you do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know what your strengths and weaknesses are better than anyone.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can watch, a coach can watch and analyze you and go, oh, hey man, you're like,
you need to work on this.
Yeah, you need to work on this. You need to work on this. But like, deep down, you know that probably anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just haven't really maybe admitted it to yourself and then purposefully started working on that. You know,
dude, I talked about this last episode with Martin. It's like everybody knows what to do to lose weight. Everybody knows what to do to make more money. Everybody knows what to do to fucking get better at whatever. They're just not willing to fucking do it.
And have you're absolutely right. Like, and have a purpose when they, like, a lot of people come to train, park the car, hey, go, they're like little run, you know, like talk to everyone, but they don't have nothing to do that day that they want to try on, or two moves that they in their head. They went and thought to have a look at the final details, ask a guy, arrive early, you know, they have nothing like that. That intrigues me, you know what I mean? Because that's like such a small thing that will make a huge, like you're saying. I completely agree with you on that.
I remember when I was a blue belt, man. I remember as a blue belt going, all right, I'm going to fucking get good at straight foot locks. I'm going to get good at doing a straight foot lock for fucking 4 months or whatever. I was just footlocking everyone with straight footlock. Get here, do this. Get here, do this. Get here, do this. And I would fail, of course, but you're just attempting the technique and trying and figuring it out. And how do you stop the guy from blocking it? How to do this? How to do that? And it might be easier because you're a little bit bigger or this and that, and you're going to have success more because you train with some guys smaller than you, so it's easier. But at the end of the day, it's still the same formula. Stick to this shit, figure it out.
And guess what? It's not going to be comfortable because you're not good at it. That's why you're doing it in the first place. Remember? Exactly. You have to remember that, to be nice to yourself.
But it's hard.
You're not going to look great at first.
Exactly. But even though you know that, you still have the struggle that you have to push through. It's like that, just conquering that inner bitch every day. Or every time that voice starts to creep up, it's like, nah, man. Like,
just do it anyway.
Just do it.
Well, Martin talked about, like, Martin competed at the Queensland State Championship as well. And he talked about that. He said, like, man, I woke up on Sunday and it was the no-gi day, and I was like, man, I already competed on Saturday.
Looking for an excuse.
Like, oh, man, like, it doesn't matter if I don't go, I don't know, whatever. And then he's like, nah, fuck it, I got to go, man. I got to go then, I got to do it. And then he went there and he felt like, you know, he might not have done as well as he wanted, but he still went there and did that, and that's a victory already.
Yeah, exactly.
That's already the victory, dude. That forces you to improve. That shit right there, that's that growth.
And he said that was the first time that he actually feel like relaxed, you know what I mean, and like cool about it, not like so nervous.
I think that's in competition, you have to have that like acceptance, you know. It's like even before the fight, it's like knowing that I could lose, it's going to be hard, but accepting it, you know, and just be like, who cares?
I'm going to be nervous, I'm going to fucking get stressed, I'm going to do this and that, but I'm going to go there anyway because this is going to help me get better. It's going to help me do this. It's going to help me get whatever I want. But like, this is the same thing that I think people need to do with just like understanding something, self-analysis. Just look at yourself a little bit, look into the thing you want to be good at. Man, I've done this before in a class, stop the whole class. Hey, everybody, who here wants to improve? Every fucking person puts their hand up. Nobody's like, no, I don't want to improve. They want to improve.
That's why they're there.
So what do you got to do about that? Like, what do you have to do? Can you commit to this shit for 4 weeks? Can you do this shit? Yeah, I can. Again, the action process and what people tell themselves are very different.
Yeah. I think that's why just in life in general, it's like some people are successful and some people aren't. I think if you have that ability in you to like be like everyone's got an idea in business, for example, you know, there's a million ideas, but like actually taking action
on those ideas,
like that's the difference. All the most successful people I know, you know, they dropped out of school quite early or struggled in school, or you know, but they took action on ideas, you know, and they just did it, you know, and that's it, man. That's the same with jiu-jitsu. It's like 100%. Gotta take action, you know, ideas.
Action first. I said this in fucking half of the other episodes. Like, action first, dude. Action first. You change through action. You don't change through like manifesting. You don't change through meditating on it. You don't change through changing the way you think and believe. The way you change the way you think and believe is by putting yourself in shit that's different.
Yeah.
Starting the jiu-jitsu class.
One thing that I really started applying to my life is like which resonates with that is like that perfectionism is the enemy of progress. Okay. You know, a lot of people don't take action because they're like, oh, it's not
they're waiting for the perfect
It's not ready. You know, it doesn't feel right. The plan's not quite right.
I have to work out first before I join the jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. And this is like they'll find that excuse in their head because it's like, oh, no, I can't try this technique. It's not the right time, or you know, it's like, they'll find an excuse because of that. It's like it doesn't have to be perfect.
Just pull the fucking trigger.
Just do it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like take action. You know. So
that's hard to do, though. You know what I mean? That's the problem. People are fearful. I always talk about this stuff too. Like, for the most part, I believe everyone's progression or everyone's ability to do new things is tied to survival. When things feel uncomfortable, you don't want to do it naturally, but you got to resist that natural urge to not do shit because it's scary or uncomfortable. I know that it's scary and uncomfortable, but growth happens in that space, man. To get better at shit happens in that space. You're not supposed to be comfortable all the time. You're supposed to feel uncomfortable, and then you get to a point of comfort, and then you're supposed to feel uncomfortable again, and then you get back to a point of comfort when you improve or change a situation or whatever. That's the process of life. You can't be one thing. You gotta oscillate, change, and peak and trough. That's life.
100%.
And you have to, the other thing as well, like, and when you're actually doing well and start doing well, we still, a lot of people have that mistake too. They start doing okay, you know what I mean? They have some recognition. They go, oh, cool. Now I don't need to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Which is the opposite. You have to then sit down, reevaluate. What can we do here to even get to the next level? You know what I mean? Like there is no, instead of limit. Oh, this is it. Okay. Or people said now I train great. Or this say the academy now looks good. Now what else? What's the need here? What's something that people are needing that they're talking about? You know, and then you try to make that happen as well. Yeah. I think that if you take that to your life, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to stop learning just when I die. You know what I mean? I'm really into learning more things about everything. You know what I mean? Like the things that interest me, obviously, but I try to get as much knowledge as possible because it gets better for you to explain people as well. You know what I mean? It opens your mind to understand there's different things, you know, acceptance, you know what I mean? And you get better. You just get better. Yeah.
Well, I think it's like jiu-jitsu, like you relate it to black belt. It's like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. You know, it's like
100%.
That is like, you know, that's why it's never ending. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's why jiu-jitsu is such a humble experience. Some days I wake up, I literally go, man, I don't know nothing. Jesus Christ, all these legs and blah 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 and this and that. I can improve on these as well or something, you know.
On the topic of all this like philosophical stuff, like what's the biggest impact that you or the biggest realization that you've come to or someone's taught you from jiu-jitsu?
I suppose the biggest realizations, the analogies to life, I suppose, but just hard work, like consistent hard work, you know, gets results. You know, consistency is the biggest thing. Because I noticed it especially early on in my journey because I said, you know, obviously I joined the army. I had periods where I wasn't training and I came back to training and I sucked. And I was just like, far out, man. Like I had only been training for like a little bit before I left, you know, maybe a year or so, or a couple of years. And then, you know, I was just like, man, I didn't train for like a year and a half and I come back and I'm just like, you know, it's like a brand new, you know what I mean? This sucks, you know? And so, and then still my progression wasn't that good when I was, you know, because with the army, you'd come back, you know, to get to train here, but then I'd go out field for 2 months and then I come back and it just was all over the shop. And then sure enough, like your progression's just like
wavy,
up and down, you know what I mean? And you feel frustrated at yourself, but then once I left the army and then I could actually train, you know, 5 days a week, every day, you know, every week, it was just like, man, the progression was rapid,
skyrocketed.
And then you apply that to other areas of your life. You know, it's like Rome wasn't built in a day. Don't do it at all. It's not going to all happen at once. But just slowly chip away at it and be patient. Do you know what I mean? It's just trust the process. Love the process. Do you know what I mean? Like just appreciate that it's not the end. There's no end state. It's the process that you know is everything. Because that's the now. You know what I mean? So it's I'd say probably that. You know, just consistency and hard work. You know, I mean that's jiu-jitsu. It just takes so long, you know, to even get semi-proficient at, and then even then you're like, man, I still suck.
100%.
I think it's a very good advice as well. Is like enjoy the process. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of people, I'm doing all that. No, man, have fun. Have fun while you're doing it, you know?
Man, I have
coffee, have a joke.
I struggle with that stuff, man. I want to do it now, today. I still struggle with that. I want you to be good today too when I teach people. You need to be good today. I always had an issue with that, always. I'm not very patient with stuff at all. But one thing though, I feel like, man, I stopped doing jiu-jitsu when I was like 16 because I went to boarding school. And I still somehow, I feel like I improved. But also
you're a unicorn.
No. Do you know why though? Because I would think about that shit in just the middle of nowhere. I would just like be in the dorm room or whatever, and I would start thinking about triangles and like, if the guy did this, and like playing out fucking roles in your head.
Well,
and shit.
I was in Afghanistan. I didn't really.
You didn't have time for that. I was 16 in boarding school.
Nah, it was
15 in boarding school, whatever. 16.
I still thought about it plenty, but I had enough other things on in my life. I was probably a bit too distracted.
Dodging bullets.
A
little bit more stressful than
a little bit.
The guy fighting in the next. Bunk
bed
or whatever.
Exactly. No, but man, there's so many lessons in jiu-jitsu, obviously. You know, it's like, I'd say that would probably be the biggest one, but I think probably one of the biggest benefits I've got from jiu-jitsu, really, that maybe people don't think about first when they think about like the benefits of jiu-jitsu is the network of people.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's amazing.
Yeah,
you know, like
it's crazy.
It's crazy how big the network is. You know, like I said, I think there's maybe just an extra level of camaraderie between people in a club that just makes people very willing to help and share with people that maybe. I swear, I mean, obviously I've only been involved in a couple of other clubs, sporting clubs in my life, but it's not the same.
No,
you know
it's
what I mean?
not.
It's not. You know, like, and man, like jiu-jitsu's given me so much, you know, over the years. And because just being around people, being, you know, obviously you're trying to get better at this thing, but like you're still creating these amazing relationships and you know, I never create relationships with the intention of trying to, you know, receive something from it. That's not at all. And I think that's people can see that from a mile away. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, but like, you know, just being kind to each other. You never know when it's gonna, when that person's gonna be able to help you in a time of need, or you know, or vice versa. You'll be able to help them. You know. Yeah,
that there is this level of camaraderie that's amazing, network, but there's also like there are a lot of people that are like in same area. So if you run a business, there are a lot of business people. If you depending the field you are, but you can actually get really good advice as well. Sometimes, you know what I mean. Like you get these people that are like do something similar to you or already done and very successful, and you can ask them and they'll be willing, you know what I mean, like to talk to you about it, which I found very interesting too.
Yeah, there's like a deeper level of genuine care or whatever than you would find in other sporting clubs or groups or whatever. You know, the intimacy that you guys talked about before, where you're actually physically in a situation where the person has to trust you so deeply for you not to hurt them or whatever. You're so vulnerable with another human being that it's a deeper level of intimacy that you find in any other scenario.
Yeah, true.
Which is interesting, man. That's like you were talking about with the military stuff, where the people bond so quickly. That's why people are willing to step out of their way to help and shit. You know what I mean? That you probably wouldn't find in a lot of other scenarios, because it's just not the same experience. People bond through experience, not through chatting, through experience. Beating the shit out of each other is an experience. Yeah,
but then also beating the shit out of each other and going like, man, thank you for not actually like ending me right then.
And then when you say thanks for that, he's like, man, you need to do this and twist your body like this, and then you can pull your elbow or whatever. Like they'll even willingly help you defend that scenario if you ask them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They should,
and then they'll do it to you again.
And then they'll do it to you again. Exactly. Or
if the guy's really stupid.
Keep training.
I just showed you how to escape that. Well, I just did it to you again.
No, it's funny, man.
No, the relationships, man. It's I've got so many opportunities from jiu-jitsu that, you know, really grateful for. But and that's a cool thing. If I ever think like, oh man, I need someone like someone that has this skill or this skill, you know, in business, then
you have it.
Usually I can find it in the
network,
the network,
the BJJ network.
People come to me sometimes. Man, I need a plumber. All right, plumber. Okay, I need this, you know, whatever, man. Oh, I need a lawyer. Okay, there's a lawyer. Whatever. It's really funny that too. Yeah, we have a similar thing like in the army. We call it the digger net, like the digger network. So we just put it out on the digger net, and someone will have it. It's the jiu-jitsu net. It's the same thing. You know? It's like everyone knows someone. You know, someone that knows someone that does something that
you can draw from. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. We're all learning from each other. Like you can, you know, I remember Eduardo would always say, you know, you could learn something from a white belt. You know, he might have a very, you know, it might be a very specific thing that he's focused on.
I learned something from blue belts like that. Like, man, never seen before. And obviously, I'm not gonna ask because I'm wearing a different. Man, come on, I want to get better. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the guy could be amazing at that position. That could be his best move, you know? So, exactly. Why not? A lot of people have that, you know, they think they're just going to learn from their coach or from... You're going to learn a lot from your training partners if you're open for it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think one thing as well with... we're going back to training with intention that really stood out to me that Keenan Cornelius does. Like, when he comes to training, he... Like, because I still think, obviously, rely on what the coach is teaching. But like I said, like, you know your own journey and your own weaknesses and what you need to work on. But I started coming to training, you know, probably, I think it's better. Like, you can start small with this, but, like, having one technique that I want to try on bottom, whether that's, you know, a guard sweep, submission, you know, retention, whatever it is, and then a position to try from top, whether that's a pass, submission, again, same thing, and a takedown. You know, and every training come with one of those, you know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be different.
Come with those three.
One of
goals,
those, all three, you know, and it could
I always say like two, you know, how do you go three is fine. You know what they do? They watch the 20 submissions.
Exactly.
There's nothing when they get here, you know?
And you can make it small, you know what I mean? But for me, that I might stick with those three for the week until I go like, okay. Like I add them to the bag.
3 months until you get proficient at it.
Yeah, exactly. Because it could be a very broad thing, or it could be a really detailed thing, you know. But I suppose just having multiple different, things to try during a training session has helped me anyway.
Goal setting.
Yeah.
I had a friend that used to go, I'm just gonna submit guys with triangle today.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna take the back. You know what I mean? Literally, and he doesn't tell people, but he forcefully just do that.
Yeah,
that's a very. But this is an important practice to actually set intention for any scenario that you're in. It's no different than
100%.
weightlifting. That's why people have programs for weightlifting. I'm trying to do this amount of repetitions at this weight. Da 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 da. That's how you progressively increase in strength. You do the same shit here with skills. You gotta do this. There's frameworks to shit that works.
Yeah.
So follow it. Follow the jiu-jitsu program. Come with 3 intentions. Do them as much as you can for as long as you need to until you become confident and proficient at it, and then change them and then do it with another scenario.
Absolutely. When the doctor said for you, you're ready.
Jiu-jitsu. Man, I've done about 2 sessions back, but I probably should have got surgery, like the type of tear that I have, but it just wasn't the right time in my life, you know, with a new job. But because I have a medial horizontal flap tear. Flap tears are like
buck and handle.
Well, they usually say to like shave off the flap because
I have the same.
You know,
I have the same.
But it feels pretty good, you know. Like, I could probably come back pretty soon. So like now,
same. They sometimes will flare up, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. But that's life. I think I've been lucky so far in terms of injuries. I think the only injury, I don't know if you remember, I broke my hand one time at training. I was training against Simon, and I went for like an ankle pick and like broke there.
I can't remember.
Yeah. But I think it was at the end of the year, so it like was a good time to get injured.
Yeah.
But man, injuries are inevitable, unfortunately, if you're pushing yourself and your training. You know, it's. Yeah.
I remember falling on top of him once, doing like a takedown or something.
I remember that, yeah.
Gasping.
And then Eduardo was like, man, it's like a pit bull training with a chihuahua. That's what it's like.
And it used to be bigger too.
Yeah.
It was a lot
Jesus
heavier, man.
Christ.
Man. That was a good throw.
Nissan Patrol.
Yeah. Because he just gets G'd up a bit, you know, you like match the level, and then it's like, man, you're going to pay. That's the thing.
Sometimes. I don't do that as much anymore now because then I wasn't as skillful, so I wasn't as controlled with stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'll just impose explosion, which is something that I'm quite good at. I'm pretty explosive for my size, so I don't know, I don't do that as much anymore, but it's in there somewhere.
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere there hiding.
It's there, man. No, it's good.
The gorilla smash comes out every now and then.
It's got it, man.
Yeah.
Use your attributes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's it, man.
Especially competition time.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But Mike, thanks very much. Awesome to have you back. Whenever you feel like, man, we're here. And the training is really good. You know, we keep working on it. We keep developing ourselves and people that are around us. And it'll be a pleasure, man. Always is.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, man, thank you. I almost screwed it up. Forgot to mention to him. He's like, oh, yeah.
I had it in my calendar anyway. I was just, you know. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
man. Thanks so much for coming in, and thanks so much for sharing, man. Like all your perspectives and your kind of knowledge. And man, that's what happens. Come and train. You're gonna learn that too.
That's it.
Yeah, man.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Have a purpose. Good advice, Brodie.
Oos.